So if you can remember, Google Analytics is actually built for all industries. It's not just built for the hotel industry. It can be built for selling widgets, booking hotel rooms, selling jumbo jets, whatever it's going to be. So Google took the opportunity when they had to shake up the platform in the way that they were actually capturing data. They wanted to shake up how people actually use the platform as well. And because it's from when it was first created way back when to where it got up to today's current day, it's very, very different. And the amount of people using it, how they're using it is very different. They wanted to provide a much more flexible platform. And because of that, they've not particularly made it terribly easy on us, because they've changed a lot of things in there, including how you actually find data and what data you that you are currently using, how you would present that on screen. So what that meant is the flexibility that Google wanted means that there's much more custom reports and more reporting sections for you to use, rather than there being standard menus down the side. There are some static reports and static menus, and Kyle's going to take you through those in just a second. But then we're going to talk about the custom reporting and the custom aspect of it in a little bit more detail. But first, Kyle will take you through what is available and what's easy to see there at the moment.
Cool, thanks, Tristan. Yeah, I think when we jump into a GA4 property, I think if you haven't seen one already and you're used to Universal Analytics, you'll probably be thinking, this looks totally different. I'm already really lost. But lots of the information that you used to get or you used to view in UA is still there. It's just we need to sort of understand and tweak it out a little bit. So I'm going to run through a couple of reports that I think lots of people look at. And we'll then, like Tristan said, drive into looking at customizing reports. So I'm going to have a look at the default channel group, the all pages report, understanding a little bit more about demographics and understanding a little bit more about technology. So I'm in, for those who haven't seen before, welcome to GA4. You'll already notice how different it is compared to Universal Analytics. So I'm in a test GA4 property here, and I've clicked onto the report section. And actually, I want to have an understanding of how many people are coming to the site via which channel. Maybe it's paid search or social media, for example. So I've clicked on acquisition, and I'm going to click on traffic acquisition. And here you can see I've got session default channel group set up, and I've got my default channel groups with lots of associated metrics across the side here. If I wanted to change the date range, for example, I can choose to change the date range here, and I've got a comparison function as well. And what's really cool is that I can actually, when I'm comparing, I can match to the same day of the week. So no more trying to figure out Monday to Friday, and when was the Monday to Friday last year. I can just click preceding period or same period last year and match the day of the week. So that's a really cool new feature that wasn't in UA. I've also got the opportunity to add comparisons. So if I just wanted to focus on all users and paid, I can then add a comparison here by building up my comparison. I can also add a filter as well. So if I just wanted to have a look at how well the property is performing from a paid or a social perspective, I can include that and build that as a filter there. And you might be thinking, God, where are all the reports that I used to love in UA? Where are they now? Actually, some of them are here. They're just not in the menu on the left-hand side. So I've got a drop-down function here, which can highlight lots of different options for me. So I've got session source medium, for example, which I know lots of people tend to look at, and I've got campaign as well. So I can, choose one of those options and sort of hone in or get a little bit more granular with the data that I'm seeing. I've also got a plus button here, which allows me to add a secondary dimension. So if I really wanted to have a look at default channel group and then go more granular by adding source medium, I can do that. Or if I wanted to go by region or age, whatever, I can add the plus button and choose it there. As well as being able to filter, you can use the search function here just to hone in on a particular primary dimension. So if I search for social and press enter, I can then just show me the reports on social. So that's a couple of nice, cool ways of getting to the data that you need without having to customize anything. So I think that's really, really nice. And actually, if I have a look at this, I can understand here already that organic search is driving a lot of revenue for me, but paid search isn't. So actually, paid search maybe not driving as much as I would, so that maybe there's something that I need to do there to kind of improve what I'm seeing or what I'm doing from a paid search perspective. And you'll see direct as well. Direct often is when somebody, maybe they bookmark the site or they type the URL directly into the search bar of the browser. But oftentimes, I mean, how many times do people do that? That doesn't happen that often. Often that means that GA is broken. So there are some cross domain issues there. So that is something to maybe highlight and go back to the team and talk through. So that's my traffic acquisition report, which gives me a really high level understanding of which channels are driving the success, which channels maybe need some work to be done. If I go into the All Pages report, which is underneath engagement and pages and screens, this is really similar to the All Pages report that you saw in Universal Analytics. Again, lots of different metrics across the right. And then I've got page path here. It says page path in screen class because GA4 is also used for apps. And again, I can change what I want to see. So I can choose page title, or I can choose page path. Or if you have content grouping set up, you can then view that data as well. So already here, I'm looking at average engagement time as a metric, and actually seeing that, people are on this test site, people are spending 25 seconds on the offers page. Actually, I think people should be spending more time on that because they want to have a look at the offers that the property has. So maybe there's something that needs to be done on that page. And then if I go into user attributes and click on demographic details here, we can see we start out with country. But again, just like with traffic acquisition, you can actually click the drop down button and you've got lots of different demographics data available to you. So I can choose gender, for example. I can have a look at age. And again, I can press the plus button and add in a different demographic if I wanted to. So now I can see that actually, when it comes to revenue, I know which age and which gender drives the most in terms of revenue. Often you might see unknown first. Google Analytics gets its data when somebody signed into Chrome. So there are often times when unknown just means they can't access that data. It's not that the person themselves doesn't know their age or gender. It's just that Google doesn't know. And what's really interesting as well, just like with demographic details, I can click on tech details here. And then once I allow it to load, I can choose, it starts out at browser, but I can choose different options. And one I'm sure you guys all have used in the past is device category, which gives me an idea of how well a mobile is is performing compared to desktop. So I can see actually, desktop has got the most in terms of revenue, but actually mobile drives the most in terms of users. So maybe there's something to be done there around how well the site is performing on a mobile. I've got lots of different other options as well. So again, I'll click on the drop down and I can choose things like operating system, which gives me just an idea of the operating system that they're using on. And surprise, surprise, iOS is the top one. So that's a really quick run through of what you can get and what you can see that you used to have in Universal Analytics that's now available in GA4. There are lots of other reports available to you. So there's monetization, gives you an idea of revenue and the type of rooms that are being booked and that kind of thing. So that's my run through of GA4 reports. And what's really interesting as well, because you've got those demographics data, you can kind of give yourselves or create an idea of your typical user, and you can use that, typical user in retargeting or in content that you want to produce. So, for example, on the site that I've got that we've just looked at, I actually think my typical user is a city dweller. They're female, 35 to 44, for example. They enjoy cooking and traveling and watching the latest movie on Netflix. Um, they might live in, the drive area of like New York, Boston, and Chicago, and they're a fan of online shopping, which means they'll tend to book their next getaway on an Apple device. So that's actually what I think. How does that relate to what the actual users are on the site? So I can go into demographic details, for example. Again, it starts with country, but let me change that to age. And I'm just going to hone in on what's pleasing is that 35 to 44 is the most in terms of users. So that's really, really good. But let me get a little bit more granular and have a look at gender as well. Okay, that's pleasing. So it is the vast majority of users are female for this site. Let's change that though. Let's have a look at region or city. So interestingly, a lot of people, I thought a lot of people would come from like New York, Boston, and Chicago, particularly in the US, but actually for this site, most of them are coming from England. And if I could actually go a little bit more granular and have a look at city, a lot of them are coming from San Michelle, which is interesting. But that gives you an idea of the kind of things that they're looking at. You could also then have a look at, like I said, geography, have a look at the traffic source, try and understand where they're coming from. But that gives you an idea of really, okay, this is what I think is my ideal audience. These are the kind of targeting I'm using. I'm writing content for this kind of person. How does that actually relate to the type of user that's on the site? And that might give you some ideas of actually how you want to change your ads, for example, or your retargeting.